Gucci gang, spent 5 racks on these double frames, yeah, they look to hate.
Okay, hi there. Today I'm going to be covering in Algebra 1, Chapter 2-1, the solving one-step equations. So there's a driving idea here in that there's opposite operations. So for example, addition and subtraction are opposites, multiplication and division are opposites, and taking something to the second power and taking the second root of something are also opposite operations. Keeping that in mind, we're going to be applying that, I can't even tell you, all year for the rest of your high school career. So if I went like this, and I went x minus 3 equals 2, you're going to look at this and you're going to say, I want to get the x alone. What is the opposite of adding 3? And you will, in turn, go and add 3, because addition and subtraction are opposites. So you're going to add 3 to both sides, and then those cancel, because minus 3 and plus 3 is 0. So I'm left with just the x. And that's the whole idea, solving for x, getting x alone, or whatever variable it happens to be. 2 plus 3 is 5, and that's my answer. You can always check your answer by plugging it back in. And did you get that 2 equals 2? Yes, you did. Okay. 2. We'll go on number 2. If I had 1 plus x equals negative 3. So once again, I'm trying to get my x alone. So the opposite of adding 1 is subtracting 1. So I do that, and there's the golden rule of algebra. What you do to one side of the equal sign, you have to do to the other. But with that said, you can really do just about anything you want to both sides, as long as you stay within the laws of mathematics. So those cancel. I'm left with x equals negative 3 minus 1 is negative 4, and that's my answer there. You could go check it, plug it back in. You get negative 3 equals negative 3, check. Okay. 3. 4x equals 6.4. Okay, so this one, you got to figure out what operation is between that 4 and the x. There's implied multiplication there. Anytime there's a number and a variable that are attached like that with nothing in between them, that's multiplication, which means I'm going to do the opposite of multiplying by 4, which is dividing by 4. So I'm going to divide both of the sides of the equation by 4, and those will cancel, and I'm left with x equals, and when you go 6.4 divided by 4 in your calculator, you'll get 1.6. Okay. Number 4. This is the kind that most students have troubles with in the beginning. Hopefully by now you figured out that, a fraction is really division. This is really the same as x divided by 4 equals negative 9. Either way, you're going to be multiplying by 4, because what's the opposite of dividing by 4? Well, that's multiplying by 4, okay? And then those cancel out, because multiply by 4 and divide by 4 is 1, so you multiply x by 1 and you get 1x, which is x. And then I take negative 9 times 4, which is a negative number. 9 times 4 is 36. And there's the answer. Same thing you get over here. You could have gone straight this way. And then these cancel. I'm left with x equals negative 36. All right, so that's the answer to that one. All right, so this one. These are about as hard as they get, I think. So this is, once again, there's multiplication in between that fraction and the variable if there's nothing written there, 4/5 times m, which means you would do one of two things. Either you could divide by 4/5, but remember, when you divide fractions, you end up flipping and then multiplying. So what I like to do with this is I like to multiply by the reciprocal, which means the reciprocal is what you get when you flip the fraction upside down. So 4/5 upside down is 5/4. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 5/4. The reason I can do this and then those cancel is because, I'm going to do a quick sidebar over here. If I took 4/5 times 5/4, I get 20 over 20. Multiply the tops together and the bottoms together. And that's 1. All right, so you end up with 1m or just m, which is why I just went straight to the crossing out over there, okay? And then I'm going to take 28 and I'm going to multiply it by 5/4. Now there's one of a few ways you could do this. You could take your calculator, go 5 divided by 4 and get 1.25, multiply that by 8. Another way to do it is, if I take this 28 here and I divide it by 4, I get 7. 28 divided by 4 equals 7. And then I'll multiply it by the 5, which is 35. You can really do those in any order you want there, the multiplication and division. I can also go 28 times 5 and then divide it by 4, and you'll get that 35 also that way. So anyway, or you can go 28 times 1.25. That's what you get when you divide it out. Either way, you're getting 35. There's a whole bunch of ways you can get it that way. Okay, so now that I just did all of that, number 6, why don't you try this one? 24 equals 2/3 times y. That's a lousy 3. Okay, so multiply by the reciprocal and solve it. I'm going to go down here and do number 7. 2/5 x equals 12. So once again, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. The reciprocal of 2/5 is 5/2. And then these cancel. I'm left with x equals 12 times 5/2. And I can do the multiplication first, or you can divide by 2. So if I go 12 times 5, that's 60 over 2, which is 30. And that's the answer. Same thing I would have gotten if I had gone 12 divided by 2 is 6. 6 times 5 is 30. Okay? Or you take a calculator. Go 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. 2.5 times 12 is also 30. A whole lot of ways to get that. Number 8. 1/7 x equals 3. Okay, so once again, multiply by the reciprocal. This would be times 7 over 1. So x equals 3 times 7 over 1. 7 over 1 is the same as 7. So 3 times 7 is 21. There you go. Number 9, let's see if we can go back to one of these, where I got x over 5 equals 10. Remember, when there's a denominator like that, that's divisions, right? Divide by 5. What's the opposite of dividing by 5? That would be multiplying by 5. So I get x equals 50. I mean, you can always check these too. What do you get? When I take 50 and I divide it by 5, do you get 10? In this case, yeah, you do. All right. Number 10. 3.5x equals 21. So this one, I'm going to take, what's the opposite operation there? Well, remember, there's multiplication between the 3.5 and the x. So divide by 3.5. This is a good time for a calculator. When I take my calculator and I go 21 divided by 3.5, you get 6. One more you try. I gave you the variable x over 5 equals 25. Why don't you see if you can solve that one and bring it into class 2. Okay? Yeah, that's about it. I'm going to wrap things up then. All right, great. Have a good night and see you in school.
Yeah. Gucci gang, spent 5 racks on these double frames, yeah, they look to hate.